Welcome to our channel. You know we pour so much time and energy into our plants. We get the best soil, the perfect light, but what if the one thing holding them back is the one thing we never even think about? Today, we are pulling back the curtain on water and why the stuff coming straight from your tap might be the secret reason your plants just aren't thriving.
It's a really frustrating feeling, right? You've done everything by the book, but your plant is still struggling. Well, the answer might be flowing right out of your faucet. The problem might not be your soil, or the light, or even your fertilizer. It could be the very water you're using.
You see, for a plant, water isn't just a drink. It's more like a highway system that's supposed to deliver every single nutrient to the roots. And the quality of that water, well, that dictates which nutrients get delivered and which ones get left behind. It directly impacts your plant's health and its growth.
Okay, so to really get a handle on our plant's health, we have to become a bit of a detective. And our first clues are in the water's 3 vital signs. Now, these are numbers most of us have never ever thought about, but believe me, they control everything that's happening down in the root zone.
First up is pH. I want you to think of pH as the gatekeeper to your plant's roots. If the pH is too high or too low, that gate slams shut. It literally doesn't matter how perfect your fertilizer is. If the pH is wrong, the nutrients are physically locked out. Your plant is starving even though it's surrounded by food.
And here's the thing, that ideal pH number, it isn't universal. As you can see right here, soil, which has this whole complex ecosystem of microbes, has a totally different sweet spot than a sterile medium like hydroponics or cocoa coir. This is a perfect example of why that one-size-fits-all gardening advice can really lead you down the wrong path. Next up is EC, which stands for electrical conductivity. Now, the easiest way to think about this is just saltiness. It's a measure of everything that's dissolved in your water, including all those nutrients. But if this number gets too high, something really bizarre happens. The water in the soil actually becomes saltier than the water inside the roots, and through osmosis, water is literally pulled out of the plant, causing that dreaded fertilizer burn. And finally, we have the most overlooked vital sign of all, alkalinity. The best way to think of this is as your water's stubbornness. It's this hidden buffering power that actively resists any changes you try to make to the pH. If your water has high alkalinity, you can add your pH adjuster, and just a few hours later, that pH will have crept right back up. It is the secret force that's fighting you every single step of the way.
So, these 3 vital signs, pH, EC, and alkalinity, they create a unique profile, kind of like a personality for your water. And that profile is determined almost entirely by its source. So let's decode the personality of the water you're probably using right now.
If you're like most of us, you use tap water. But here's the deal. Municipal water is designed to keep humans safe, not to help plants thrive. And its biggest challenge is a disinfectant called chloramine. Now, unlike the old-school chlorine that would just evaporate if you let the water sit out, chloramine is persistent. It sticks around and it acts like a sterilizer, wiping out all the beneficial bacteria and fungi that make a root zone healthy.
But don't worry, there are ways to fight back. Your standard water filter pitcher, it won't touch chloramine. You need a specific kind of filter called a catalytic carbon filter. Or for a much simpler and cheaper fix, a tiny pinch of ascorbic acid. Yep, that's just pure vitamin C, will instantly and safely neutralize it. It's a really simple trick that can completely revive your soil's ecosystem. And hey, if you're finding this helpful, please like and subscribe. It really helps our channel a lot.
Of course, tap water isn't your only choice. Rainwater is wonderfully pure, but it can be unpredictable. Well water is free, but its mineral content is a total lottery. For the really serious growers, reverse osmosis, or RO water, is the gold standard. It strips absolutely everything out, creating a perfect blank slate. This gives you total control to build the perfect nutrient recipe right from scratch. Okay, so once you've got a clean water source, the next step is to turn it into the perfect plant food. And this is where so many people make their most expensive mistake. The order that you mix your nutrients in isn't just a suggestion, it matters more than you could possibly imagine. I want you to let this sink in for a second. This isn't about preference or what's convenient. Getting the mixing order wrong can cause your expensive nutrients to literally crash out of the solution, forming this useless sludge at the bottom of your reservoir. It's a law of chemistry. And before we even start mixing, there is one magic ratio you need to know. It's for 2 of the most important nutrients, calcium and magnesium. You always want to aim for roughly 3 parts calcium to 1 part magnesium. This precise ratio keeps them from basically fighting each other for uptake by the roots. So here it is, the unbreakable rule. Silica, if you use it, always goes in first, into pure water. No exceptions. It's super reactive, and it will turn to gel otherwise. Next, in goes your CalMag. Third, you add your main base nutrients. And only at the very, very end, after everything is totally dissolved, do you test and adjust your pH.
All right, so you have perfected your water. You've nailed your feeding schedule. How do you know if it's actually working? Well, you have to learn to listen to your plant. And the way you do that is by testing the water that drains out from the bottom of the pot. We call that the runoff.
That runoff is a direct message straight from the root zone. All you have to do is measure its EC, its saltiness. If the runoff is saltier than the water you put in, it means nutrients are building up in the soil, and you should probably use just plain water next time. But if the runoff is less salty, that means your plant is super hungry, and it's eating everything you give it. That's your cue to increase the nutrient strength.
So when we put all of these pieces together, a completely new picture starts to emerge. We started this journey thinking of water as, well, just water. But now we can see it for what it truly is. It's a precision tool for controlling our plant's health. So let's quickly recap the absolute essentials. We've learned to check our water's 3 vital signs: pH, EC, and that sneaky one, alkalinity. We know to neutralize the silent killer, chloramine, in our tap water. We understand that the mixing order for our nutrients is a non-negotiable rule of chemistry. And maybe most importantly, we've learned how to actually listen to our plants by reading their runoff.
Mastering these concepts really does transform you from just a regular gardener into a true plant scientist, someone who is managing every single aspect of your plant's environment. So the next time you go to fill up a watering can, the real question is, now that you know its secrets, how will you look at that simple glass of water? Hit that like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. This content does not constitute medical advice, legal advice, or recommendations for the use, self-treatment, or consumption of any substance.